The Missouri Alliance for Animal Legislation is a nonprofit organization that lobbies throughout the state for the protection of animals, and they'll soon hold their 15th annual Open Your Heart Gala. And here to share more are Executive Director Bob Baker and lobbyist Tom Robbins. Welcome, Tom and Bob. So glad you guys are here.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about the gala in a little bit, but let's talk about you. And let's talk about the Missouri Alliance for Animal Legislation. Very important organization, but small.
Yes.
You operate with a very small staff on a shoestring budget, I'm sure.
Right.
But you're doing a major things for the animals in the state of Missouri.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the accomplishments over the years has been really dramatic. The organization was started in 1990, and the real impetus for starting this organization was our puppy mill problem here in the state. I don't know if your audience realizes the seriousness of the puppy mill problem, and especially in Missouri, we have a terrible reputation. And so it was sort of gave motivation to let's do something about this. So the first thing the Alliance did when it was started in 1990 was to start to lobby for a law that would regulate puppy mills. And within 1992, we got our first law passed, the Animal Care Facilities Act, which requires all dog breeders, even the animal shelters, to be licensed and inspected by the State Department of Agriculture. And then from there, we were realizing that our animal laws were so lax, it was almost impossible, believe it or not, in 1990, to prosecute anyone for neglecting their animals. The laws were so poorly written. So we got the law changed that people could be prosecuted for neglect. We got a felony abuse statute, so people could have serious consequences for actually outright abusing an animal. We got cockfighting made illegal. Believe it or not, up until 1998, cockfighting was legal in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you talk about these dates, like the 1990s.
I know.
Like,
Right.
It seems like this should have been 100 years prior. The
I
things
know.
you're talking about, just right here in the state of Missouri.
Right.
To think that it was so unsophisticated in terms of the care of animals and how how our laws did not protect them.
Oh, absolutely. Dog fighting was a big problem in the state, so we got that made a felony offense, which has had a dramatic effect. We gained protection for exotic animals. We passed the Large Carnivore Act. One of the things people might not realize is that there are actually more tigers living as pets in the United States than there are tigers living worldwide in the wild. I mean,
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. And the largest auction of exotic animals in the entire country is in Macon, Missouri. So we've had a lot of problems with that, but we did get a law passed in 2008 to address that issue. Now they have to be licensed and again inspected by the state.
So in your role, do you actually go to that auction to see how the animals are?
Oh, I have in the past, yes. And in my background is, before coming to the Alliance, I was a cruelty investigator for a good number of years, so I've seen just about all of it. And it really helps, I think, even being up in the legislature, and Tom, our lobbyist, can probably attest to that, is if you have firsthand knowledge about an issue, it just makes you so much more credible, and it certainly gives you the passion to really work that much harder to correct the problem.
And your knowledge goes way back. And Tom, you're in Jefferson City working on behalf of the Missouri Alliance for Animal Legislation. And what are some of the things, as Bob's talking, I'm sure when they're probably at some point were a big surprise to you as well to hear some of these things.
It was. I'm very fortunate to get to work for Bob. I love animals, but I didn't have the subject matter expertise that Bob does. But there's Republicans used to be for local control, and it seems increasingly they're stripping municipalities from the opportunity to do what's best for the municipality and trying to center that power in Jefferson City. So we're there to make sure that the animals are taken care of. We feel like God gave us animals to serve us, but we're here to protect them. So.
Yeah, and you guys work on the state level, but you brought up municipalities, and how does that come into play with the work that you're doing? Because every municipality has their own rules and regulations concerning domestic animals.
Sure, and we do work at the municipal level. Our focus is at the state because that's where it makes the biggest difference, but we certainly are involved in municipal controls. In fact, there's a bill right now that we're very concerned about because it would take away municipalities' authority to prohibit cruel events and to regulate animals. So that's a big issue this year that's going on right now.
And so what else is on the horizon for some of the legislative issues that you guys are working on right now?
Well, we're pretty much this year in defense mode. There's just been so many bad bills there this year. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the one is Senate Bill 918, which we just talked about, which would take away the city's authority to regulate animals. And so we're very, very concerned about that. It could come up for a vote next week. There's also a bill that would take away our disposition process for abused and neglected animals. One of our victories early on in the history of the Alliance was setting up a civil disposition hearing. So when animals were seized due to abuse and neglect, we could get them out of the hands of their abusers right away. We didn't even have to wait to the criminal trial. So there was an actual civil trial set up that would, if we could go in and show that these people had been abusing the animals, the court could take those animals away from the abuser immediately. And this has been a big, big success, because the problem is, if it's a puppy mill with 200 dogs, what do you do with those dogs until the criminal trial?
Right.
So,
I'm going to interrupt you just for a quick
Sure.
second. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and finish this conversation. It's very
Okay.
interesting, and hear from Tom on this as well. So there's more with the Missouri Alliance for Animal legislation after this break. Stay with us for more STL Live.